African migrants who ended up in Libya's city of Misrata, instead of being on a boat headed for Europe, settled down after finding jobs, which they say helps them to support their families back home. Now, these temporary jobs can earn the migrants between 80 and 150 dinars per day, enough to cover their living expenses and even send some money to their families.
In a Misrata street, commonly known as Workers' Lane, dozens of African migrants line the side of the road at the crack of dawn, waiting to find work. The migrants, whose journeys to Europe had been cut short, have settled in the Libyan city. They wait for hours every morning to find jobs, as shop owners, merchants and construction workers regularly pass by the streets in search of extra help for their businesses. These temporary jobs can earn a migrant between 80 and 150 dinars per day, which is about $58 to $109, enough to cover their living expenses and even send some money back home to their families.
I've been doing this every morning for around a year and a half, where I wait here for an hour or two to find work. Sometimes I find work and money becomes available, but other times I don't find work or make money. But generally I'm doing fine, thank God.
Most of the migrants live in compounds built by private construction companies. Up to 5 migrants can share a single apartment and split the rent to nearly about $100 a month. Libya is a common route for many from West Africa fleeing violence and economic hardship, and those who do not make it on a boat on the Mediterranean end up in detention centers across the country. Aid agencies say most migrants suffer abuse, torture and rape as they cross Libya in pursuit of a new life in Europe. But a few of them have found part-time or full-time employment in Misrata.
I work here little by little, thank God. It's better here than in Europe. In Europe, it's a bit hard when you leave for Europe. You die on the Mediterranean. It's not good.
More than 600,000 migrants have reached Italy, mostly from Libya, since 2014, while some 13,000 have died trying to make the crossing in Europe's worst migrant crisis since the World War II. The North African country has been gripped by turmoil since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising ended Muammar Gaddafi's 42-year rule, giving space to smuggling networks that have sent hundreds of thousands of migrants to Europe via Libya.
In spite of a push by the U.S. to cut United Nations peacekeeping costs, the multi-dimensional integrated stabilization mission in the Central African Republic has requested around 900 more troops as violence spreads across the country. UN peacekeepers were deployed there in 2014, and the Security Council is due to renew the mandate for the mission for more than 12,000 troops and police by mid-November this year.
As violence surges with attacks in the southeast and the center of the Central African Republic, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says he hopes the United Nations Security Council will agree to send an extra 900 troops to protect civilians in the country. In a predominantly Muslim area of the country's capital, Bangui, the PK5 has seen some of the fiercest fighting in the past. Members of the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic, MINUSCA, continue to conduct daily patrols. MINUSCA forces have 10,658 troops and 1,968 policemen dispatched in the east between Brea and Bangassou.
Since we were deployed, we found out that the population is reassured because when there is a need, we intervene quickly. And because we are impartial and neutral in all situations, the population indeed is in peace.
Thousands have died and a fifth of Central Africans have fled a conflict that broke out after mainly Muslim Seleka rebels ousted President Francois Bozize in 2013. This provoked a backlash from Christian anti-Balaka militias. Although unrest has since subsided, fighting has spiked this year, and the United Nations warns that ethnic fighting could descend again into a much larger conflict.
Some months before, when we arrived here, the quartier was like abandoned houses, and you can observe few people moving, but there was no business. But nowadays, as you have seen with me, there is a lot of business, there is a lot of population, and the roads are crowded. So it means they have enjoyed peace now.
The United Nations Security Council is due to renew the mandate for the mission of more than 12,000 troops by mid-November. Antonio Guterres has pledged to make United Nations peacekeeping more efficient. He notes that the current budget to fund it is less than half of 1% of global military spending.
As we end the program, Morocco is expanding its plantations while increasing production and quality. The country is already the 5th largest producer and exporter of olive oil worldwide, but is looking for a larger share of market as it modernizes the traditional Mediterranean industry.
The broad fields of this community are bursting with the fruit of one of the most recognizable products of the Mediterranean, olives. The area is densely planted with olive trees and more are planned as the traditional industry improves production methods and quality. Moroccan Agriculture Minister planted an olive tree to launch the conversion of 600 hectares of cereal fields to olive tree plantations, giving a strong signal to local farmers that their future is in the booming agro-industry.
We nearly reached 1.1 million hectares of land planted with olive trees, and our objective is to reach 1.3 million hectares. Today, our olive production reached 1.56 million tons. Some of this production will be transformed into olive oil, and we will export between 40 and 50,000 tons a year.
Morocco's olive production this year is set to break records, with an increase of nearly 50% compared to previous seasons, giving growers a bumper crop. The high production is a result of good sanitary conditions to the national olive growing orchards and also of investments in the sector. A national agricultural development strategy known as Morocco Green Plan set up 21,000 hectares of new plantations between September 2016 and September 2017.
And that's how we end the program Network Africa. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun.